And welcome back to another episode of California Ant Keeper. Today I wanted to do a follow-up of a very first episode I did about cheap Chinese Formicariums. This setup is pretty much 25mm test tubes attached to an outworld, and they're bamboo test tubes which I have no experience with. First of all, this nest was purchased on AliExpress for about $80, and it took about a month to get here. The item was well packaged and nothing was damaged in the delivery of this Formicarium. However, when I opened it, I realized the first headache. There was no instructions, and this was a pretty complicated nest to build. Overall, it took me about 3 hours to build this nest, and most of that time was taking off the protective coating on the acrylic, and that takes forever. My daughter was helping me, and you can see the piece of acrylic she scratched right there trying to take off the protective coating, but no big deals. I bought this nest with the intent of putting my Camponotus CA02 colony into here. They were going to outgrow their tar heel ants mini hearth nest this year, so I figured why not put them in a bigger nest now so that way they can grow into it. Now let's get into some of the new features of this nest. So it has 2 openings, so I got this little opening on top where I could feed, or I can remove the whole top if I really want to. This nest also comes with 6 25mm test tubes that are bamboo and glass, and they are fillable on the end with a little rubber tip that you can pull off and refill it with a little syringe in there. Another feature I like about this nest is it is sectioned off, and they can't get into many parts of the nest until they are a bigger colony. So most of the nest they cannot access at this point. And that is a good thing because they will probably just put trash in those areas. I've been using this nest now for about 2 months, and I have not had to refill the test tube again. So they last pretty long with the moisture in the test tube once they fill them, so at least a couple months. So that is definitely a positive in my book, because the tar heel ants, they need to be filled probably every 2 weeks to once a month. Another positive thing about this nest is when I put the Camponotus CA02 in, they moved right away. I've never seen a colony move so fast. I just put the tar heel ants mini hearth in the outworld, and I took the glass off, and they moved within 30 minutes. But this also proved another theory I had, as the Camponotus CA02 were not doing very good in the mini hearth. So I think they did not like it in there personally. And in about 2 months, this colony has doubled, as they were struggling and only had about 6 workers, and now they are about up to 12. And I don't know how this fly got in there with 1 wing, but they'll get them eventually. Another positive thing I noticed is that this colony was just not foraging in the tar heel ants mini hearth. And I usually stand by those products very well, and I still do. But for some reason, this colony just did not like the mini hearth. I don't get it. But now there are always 2 to 3 workers in the outworld, and they are always foraging, and so now I know that they're at least eating, so I know the colony will grow now, and so I can relax a little bit and just watch them grow from now on. Now let's take a second and compare this to the original Chinese nest that I did in one of my very first videos, and this is it now. This Formicarium still does the job, as there are about 100 cocoons in there right now, getting ready to hatch, so this colony is going to get pretty big pretty quick. But as you can see, this nest still has its moisture problems, and I'll have to let it dry out for about a week before I fill the water container again. In conclusion, I really like this nest. If you've been looking at it already and are contemplating it, I can only recommend it for Camponotus, as that's all I've put in it so far, and that's all I've really used in there. And I can recommend the bamboo test tubes for sure, because they really seem to like them. So if you're on the fence about getting this nest, it is definitely a budget nest, and I think you'll like it though. So and it has plenty of room for the colony to grow into the thousands. If I had any complaints with this nest, it would just be that it came with instructions, and that the acrylic, it gets fingerprints pretty easy, but if you've dealt with it before, then you know it's not a big deal. and it does feel a little flimsy if you try to pick it up, so I would only buy this nest if you're keeping it in one spot. Lots has happened since my last video, so I'll have a lot of updates coming, guys, and I'll see you soon. And thanks for supporting the channel as always. Thanks, guys. Bye.